This ain't some rhinestone bed. This ain't some circus show. Yeah, son, this is pure cowboy shit. Ain't your daddy's rodeo. No, it ain't his rodeo.
Hey friends, welcome back to Cowboy Shit. My name is Ted Stoven on my own this week. And just want to say thanks for tuning in. This is episode 193. Going to take you back once again to the Canadian Country Music Awards in Edmonton, Alberta last fall. Had a couple of fun conversations here, but we're going to talk with a couple different folks here. But the first one, Ben Chase, really enjoyed this chat. This guy's got some fun songs from the East Coast. Saltwater Cowboy, that's a fun one he's got. But then we talked to Julia Vos as well. Dustin and I had a good chat with Julia. And Vos, she's like one of the first people that I've met that has the same last name as my mom. So, and like there's a lot of Vosses with two S's, but Julia Vos here with one S spells it the same as mom. So that was fun to have a chat with her. We had a couple TikToks with her back then. But yeah, really looking forward to getting this show out for everybody to hear. It was tough to sit on these for so long, but got things happening here at the house. Been on the road, moving a bunch of display cases the last few weeks, making a lot of miles on the highway. But the house is almost finished, so we're gonna have planning to have a new studio area and possibly a new sponsor coming up here pretty soon for the studio as well. But yeah, gonna be a great couple of weeks here, getting things finished up and seeing all my stores out on the road. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, folks. Appreciate you, Sean, for editing the show as always, and Claire on the social media. Appreciate you getting the show, making sure people know about it. But yeah, we got some new recordings coming up, some new shows on the way, and cruise our way into 200 in July. 200 episodes. Just be on the lookout. Gonna be a fun little milestone when that one hits. So anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, this is Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted Stoven. Get your new Cowboy Shit gear at cowboyshit.ca. Make sure to check it out. There's a bunch of new retro gear. There's some fun stuff. We've got a really cool design that I'm a big fan of. One with the Canadian champion bronc rider Clay Elliott on it. Has been to the Wrangler NFR in the bronc riding. Now in the tie-down roping side of things. A lot of fun new designs though. So make sure. Actually, this one I'm wearing right now, kind of a fun one too. I don't know if I've had it on the show before, but anyways, stay tuned, everybody, for all the new stuff on the website. It's in stores now as well, but I appreciate you listening. So thanks, everybody. We'll catch up with you again in a couple weeks, but enjoy the show this week and all the new tunes.
Baby, it's sunshine on what state I'm in. The clip wax so cranked up to 10, but I'm one sip away from jumping right in. You so looked up for something. Hand me a long neck, drink 'em if you got 'em. Drop a little rhyme, let it sink to the bottom. It's a bad day to be a bear.
He's had 2 number 1 songs on the Canadian iTunes country charts. He's the Fans' Choice winner at the Country Music Alberta Awards, and 5 times he's been nominated for different awards at the Country Music Alberta Awards. Currently, he's releasing a 3-song project. He's put out 3 different tracks in the last 3 months. The latest one is coming out next Friday. And these are part of his first Nashville project with CCMA Producer of the Year, Danik Dupel, formerly of Emerson Drive. He's known as the Saltwater Cowboy from St. Louis, Prince Edward Island, Canada. Please welcome to the show, Ben Chase.
That was quite an intro. Thank you.
You like that?
Hey, I like it. You did your research.
Try to get my shit together for the Cowboy Shit podcast, Ben. I gotta have my
Love that.
You
got your cowboy shit together.
Trying to get it together. Okay, so I gotta start off with the Saltwater Cowboy business. I've never heard that term before, and I'm a fan of it. It sounds like something that we could maybe put on a shirt or something.
Yeah, you know what? I do have some shirts with it. Oh wow, your shirts are nice too.
You like that?
Yeah. Wow, I gotta give me one of those. But
yeah, I'll send you some stuff. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, actually, Saltwater Cowboy was probably like my biggest known single before I started working on my Nashville music when I was doing stuff in Canada, and that song literally came from the rodeo world. Actually, I grew up I grew up in a lobster fishing community in Prince Edward Island, and so we would spend our whole, we fished lobsters 6 days a week, and that was what we were doing. That's what I did for work. And actually,
really? That was your job?
Yeah. And what I did when I was 18, I moved to Alberta. And I would go back to PEI for 10 weeks of the year because that's how long the lobster season is.
It's like May, is it not?
Yep. I would fish the spring. It was May until the end of June.
Okay.
And I would go there and I would fish for 10 weeks, and then I would come back to Alberta and do music the rest of the year, write songs, connect, play all the bars.
with Maddie and the crew, right?
That's
and
right.
probably
I met
Justin.
Maddie and Justin. They all played on all my first stuff. Very dear friends of mine.
Yeah.
This year I got to tour with Justin across Canada with the Kissel Camp, which is fun too. And but anyway, long story short, I was always grew up in the East Coast fishing lobster, and then I would come out here and I would often talk to people about, the different lifestyles, different style of country. When I first moved to Alberta, they tried to put a cowboy hat on me, and it just didn't feel right. And I was like, I'm just not a cowboy, man. That's the different. So then I always tried to explain, on the boat we would listen to Merle Haggard. We would listen to...
Really?
we listen to all country. George Jones is king where I'm from, but country music is dominant,
No way.
And
I
I
didn't
feel
expect to hear that.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's like a different kind of country that I grew up. We're kind of like farming on the ocean, like in a different way,
I guess.
And so I always want to find a way to really put that together. So then, anyway, long story short, I was playing this Canadian Finals Rodeo 2 years ago,
In Red Deer?
which Maddie invited me to play. He was a house band
With the
leader.
All-Star Band.
With the All-Star Band.
Was
And-
Keenan Turnovoy part of that too? And
Yeah,
then,
he was part of that.
John Casa.
Yeah,
Chloe
all
Puller.
those guys.
Yeah, the whole crew, yeah.
And they flew me up from Nashville, and I
I
get
probably introduced you on the stage, and I forgot doing this now. Sorry.
That's all right.
I was hosting there, but it was such a blur.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we had
man.
an epic weekend. That was.
Did you
that
play
was,
like Friday or Saturday?
I played. Yeah, I think the Saturday was
Yeah,
the big
the big
one.
one.
It was packed. It was
It's like
incredible.
so many people.
Yeah.
It's huge. That was like that. The CFR and Red Deer with that part of things. They were limited a bit by the venue for the rodeo, but I thought having like everything open up and go right to the party, like it was such a great setup. That
As soon as
way.
it's done, they just walked
So
in.
good.
They
Yeah.
flooded. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I'll show you a video after this. Just like looking back on the crowd that night, it was incredible.
Yeah, and so loud and into it, like the whole.
Oh yeah,
like, it
we
was
had
such a
them
great
going.
venue.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And it was cool to work with the All-Star Band, two awesome musicians. But after the show, I was off stage and I was shaking some hands, and there was an older
Kissing some
gentleman.
babies.
Yeah, kissing babies, shaking hands, shaking babies, kissing
Yeah.
hands. And anyway, I was talking to this older gentleman, and he had he was a real cowboy, you could tell, and he just started asking me. He said, "Man, you should know a lot of old country." And he said, for a guy who's like not wearing a hat. Back then, I was dressed a little different. I think I was probably wearing skinny jeans at the time. I didn't know what my branding was and stuff. I was still like in my developing years a little bit more than I am now. And I was chatting with this guy, and he said, how do you know so much like country? And I said, well, you know what? I said, I often tell people I'm not a cowboy. I'm a saltwater cowboy. And he said such a good laugh at that. And he said, I respect that. He said, you're not going to come here and try to kind of be like one of those stampede fake cowboys at our
Yeah.
event. And I said, no, and I'll still come here and sing you every George Strait song you want to hear.
Yeah.
I love 90s country, and that's one of my big thing when it comes to and just real good country music. But I was like, I want to be true to who I am, and I went back to Nashville on Sunday, the day after, and then the next Monday, an Alberta artist named Drew Gregory, I'm sure you probably know
Oh yeah,
Drew,
I know Drew.
was down, and I had a write with him and my buddy Lawrence Maxwell, who's from Prince Edward Island in Nashville. And Drew's obviously a farmer in Alberta, and Lawrence is from the East Coast and has been around like the fishing industry. And we're like, man, I was like, I've had this idea about saltwater cowboy. Just told the guy the story about who I am, and we started that song. It was just like lyrics are, wasn't my first rodeo, never felt right in those boots, didn't wear Wranglers, no buckles, it ain't my roots. But I knew the words to every 90s country song, and they sang along, and it just turned into becoming like I'm from the land, We roped in traps and we pull them in. I've been bucked around by a 20-knot wind. We get drunk and make a whole lot of noise. I'm from the land of the saltwater cowboys. That's just kind of comparing. Wow. It's basically my conversation with that older gentleman at the CFR, and just kind of explaining, we're different kind of country, Yeah. And but we we're all still kind of the same. We're all still country in our own way, and that all came from CFR.
Really? So the name of the show is Cowboy Shit, and usually I don't ask this question until later in the show, but now I want to ask you because this is part of the reason why I thought our name of our show was so perfect early on, is because you can be on a fishing boat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and be doing cowboy shit, where I might be doing cowboy shit by riding horses during the week or going to rodeos and working shows, or some guys might be doing it a different way. If we're talking about hockey, the guy that did the most cowboy shit in the hockey world, in my opinion, in the last few years, that's kind of closest to Josh would be Chris Russell blocking 10 or what was it, some thousands of shots in the NHL as a D-man. That's cowboy shit. But so we ask everybody this question, what their definition of cowboy shit is, and I got to ask you right off the bat though, because I think it's so neat that you're doing it out like when you're fishing for lobster out in the middle of in the ocean as a saltwater cowboy. I think that's so neat.
Yeah, and growing up, I did that. Luckily, music has taken me to a place where I don't have to get up at 3 a.m. every morning and fish lobster till 7:30 at night.
Now you're doing it to get to the airport.
Yeah, I do it for fun. We just did a writers retreat in PI last week, and we took a bunch of Nashville songwriters out fishing lobster to give them that experience. But the guys back home, I often compare to, because I lived in Alberta for a while, compared to my real cowboy buddies in Alberta. They're tough as nails fishermen, and that's kind of why in that song, we rope the traps, we pull them in, been bucked around by 20 knot winds, man. We've been out on those boats. I've been out where it's blowing 40 knots and you're just trying to fish a lobster trap and you're getting thrown around like you're on a boat. It's crazy. You can't stand up.
Holy crap.
Wild out in those storms, and it's just kind of like a different kind of country, right? Dang. So yeah, I guess that's my definition of cowboy shit. Yeah,
being on the lobster boat. That's wild. I can't believe that saltwater cowboy happened from the conversation at the CFR, though.
From the CFR,
that's so neat.
Yeah.
In Red Deer.
I often tell that story actually on stage. I'm doing Writers Round, I always say. Yeah. Actually, I just told that.
Yesterday, probably.
Yes, I played the SoCan Songwriter Round, and I literally said it came from the CFR in Red Deer.
Yeah. Which is, for those, everybody that's listening to our show probably knows, but the CFR is coming back to Edmonton. Had a 44-year run in Edmonton. Started here in 1974 and is back in 2024. For the 50th anniversary, so
I want to come back sometime.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get you back to play the CFR again here in the next couple of years.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, so talk about the CCMA week here, though. This is a fun week and probably something that you've been part of over the last few years. I'm assuming. I'm sorry, I don't know this right now, but tell me what the week's been like and going to the piece yesterday. I was visiting with a couple of the crew from Edmonton this morning, and they said it was really sad yesterday at the songwriters piece. There's a lot of heavy stuff going on, but they really liked your piece with the kick drum and the harmonica, and they were really enjoying that part of the songwriters piece yesterday.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing. I'm more, I would say I put myself in more of the Garth Brooks, style country. Tour and learn with Brett Kissel, Alberta's own, and he's one of my role models in this industry. He's taught me a lot too, and so that's kind of my thing and who I am. I love sad songs. You know what? My friends make fun of me because all my favorite songs are the sad country songs, but I love writing more of the upbeat stuff in the party, and that's kind of my more my style on stage when it comes to stuff is really delivering the party. I grew up in kitchen parties and stuff in the East Coast, so I love that. But no, it's great to be here for CCMA week. I love it. I love coming to Canada. I'm a Canadian, obviously, so when I get to come here and see everybody, because I get kind of lost in the Nashville mix sometimes, and it's hard, especially in festival season, to keep track of what everybody's done and hear about the great summers and the wild road stories from traveling around and playing festivals. So whenever September comes and it's CCMAs, it's great because it's the end of festival season, so we're all starting to slow down, catch up, tell funny stories, hear about everyone's awesome success, and get ready to kind of go what I call hibernation for a month afterwards and recover.
Well, and then there's then you got to get back to writing probably too and get some pen on paper and get things going again.
We're getting into writing real hard here
for the next record, which would be, I don't know what the timing is, but you probably got to get some stuff going here.
Yeah, definitely. Spring, and we got some stuff in the can too. It's just more we can write, the better songs we're going to get. And it's hard in summertime to write in Nashville because everybody's on the road. So I'm going to get back and get my teeth right and then try to write, the next smash.
The next smash single. So what was the transition like from Nashville? From
Alberta to Nashville?
Yeah, from PEI, Alberta, Nashville.
Well, my accent got really weird because I moved out. Because I would say, for example, when I lived in PEI, I would say mom and dad. And I moved out here and I was I had to clean my accent. So I was mom and dad. Yeah. And then moved down there, it's mom and dad. And people make fun of my accent all the time because it's 3 different places. Because when I moved to Alberta, I tried so hard to clean up my accent because everybody made fun of my East Coast accent. And now people make fun of my Canadian accent in Nashville, and it just never ends. But the transition is really good. I've been wanting to do music my whole life. That's why I moved to Alberta when I was 18. I played, the Ranchmans. I played the Cook Counties. I played the Ralphs in Medicine Hat. Everywhere.
Bose and Red Deer.
Yep. I actually never played there. I've partied there.
Okay.
But I've never been there. But I did all the circuit here when I was a kid playing the cover band stuff. Yeah. So it's cool to now be doing my original music and touring with artists and, opening up for people playing my own stuff is what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But when I learned what we call, cutting your teeth in this industry, I did it all here in Alberta. So it was a really good grind. And, it's really cool to be back at CCMA and see everybody.
So tell me the accent side of things, though. I remember there were some folks that were from the East Coast, maybe even Newfoundland, that lived with us at my house in Drayton Valley.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Like for a little while, like they came over to work in the Drayton Valley area. But I want to say the accent from the East Coast would translate better to Nashville than it would to Alberta. Would I be wrong in saying that? Like it's almost a little more similar going south than coming out west.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, for sure.
A little bit, maybe not a lot.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
As long as you're not from Newfoundland.
That one's really can be
thick.
haywire.
Yeah. Everyone, I don't know if you've seen. You may not have seen, but we were just playing at Cabinets this year, and I had a video completely viral because at my shows I do this thing afterwards. I'll go out with my microphone and interview people in the crowd and stuff. And this
during
one
the middle
guy,
of your set.
No, at the end of the show.
Okay.
We were just playing a festival. Brothers Osborne was getting ready to go on, but we went in between the changeover and the pit, and this guy stopped me, and he said, "Oh," and he said, "My name's Andrew Fleming. I'm from Stephen, Newfoundland." He said, "You want to come see a show? Come see my bye-bye." I can almost quote the whole thing. He said,
"Holy smokes!
You want to see the show? Come see my boy. He'll get the girls. He'll get the guys. He'll get the buys. Don't worry, you're on to go."
Really?
And I took a video of that and I put it on, and it's got over 1 million views now on the internet because it's just, and it was the words were trying to translate him. He said, "I'm from Stephenville, Newfoundland," but TikTok said Semo, Newfoundland, because he said, "I'm from Semo, Newfoundland." And it was just the funniest video, and just that accent. My Nashville friends who were with me were just blown away when they seen that video or that were hearing him talk.
That's a little bit.
Yeah, that accent's pretty insane.
Crazy. Okay, talk about these singles before we wrap this up here. You guys got to get going here pretty quickly. But Somebody's Summer already released this year. Bad Day to Be a Beer, and then Chesney on the Lake coming up here next Friday. Yeah. So talk about those couple songs, just kind of what it's been like this year so far. I love the branding and the look of them. That looks great.
Thank you. Yeah. I grew up on an island. And, I mean, my favorite country artist is probably Kenny Chesney. Yeah. And there's not really better music you could listen to on the island, right? And so growing up on the island, liking Kenny, and I've learned to love Jimmy Buffett recently and kind of that whole world of country, and kind of wanted to figure out who I am and what kind of makes me stand out. And I was like, there's not a lot of artists that are from an island that can say that. And it was like, the mash of me loving being a performer and me loving summertime music. I was like, if I'm releasing those songs that, people want to play on the beach or on their boat in the summer, kind of make them feel like they're on vacation everywhere they're at, would really kind of help me set myself a little different and really focus on that. So I've really focused on my writing that way, trying to be the guy that people want to turn up when they're, out dazing in the sun. Yeah. And I want to make sure I do that. So that's kind of been my new lane. And Somebody's Summer was our kind of kickoff, and Bad Day to Be Beer was our song to kind of get the drinks flowing at the festivals. And Chesney on the Lake is just kind of like that tribute to Chesney because I love him so much, his music, and just kind of a way to look back on summer and just think about rocking out the Chesney on the Lake all summer,
So I'm looking up people from, like, musical artists from Prince Edward Island, and I see Ali Walker here. Yep. And Stompin' Tom Connors.
Yeah, we're from the same town, actually, which is
way.
Pretty incredible. Yep.
So for those of our fans from the South, Stompin' Tom Connors wrote The Good Old Hockey Game.
He did. The Good Old Hockey Game, the best game you can name.
Yeah. So pretty elite company there.
Yeah, I grew up loving Tom, and he grew up, like, the school he went to is literally about 8 houses down from my mom and dad's. And there's a museum there now. So actually, 2 weeks ago, I just took, like I said earlier, we took National People Lost Fishing.
Yeah.
We did a
museum?
writers retreat at the Stomp and Tom Center, and we
No
did
way.
songwriters circle there. Kind of was cool to bring a bunch of Nashville songwriters to a legendary Canadian songwriters museum.
Oh, yeah.
From my hometown, and so that's actually right where I'm from.
Yeah.
So it was cool to bring all Nashville people and hit writers out there, and just kind of they're all like looking at Stomp and Tom's history and stuff. It was really cool.
That's way cool. Well, Ben, you've got a couple shows coming up this fall still. You got one that's not really announced yet that we just found on Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess probably by the time this comes out, it'll be announced. But we're
Yeah.
on the Scotty McCreery tour this year, doing the Canadian dates.
Yeah.
And
So that one's on the 21st of November. Is that right?
yeah, that's the first one. The other ones will probably be announced as well. There's one near
Yeah.
Toronto and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's pretty well it for the rest of the year, which is kind of nice
Yeah.
for.
Take a bit of a break.
Yeah, it's been a busy
Get back into
summer.
writing.
That's as we know for now. Things could change very quickly though.
Yeah. And Chesney on the Lake's coming out Friday. It'll be the
September 20th.
September 20th.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Because American summer goes a little later, so we want to give a
It's
little
true.
bit more time because
it's true.
it's still hot as heck in Nashville.
Still summer down there. But check them out, benchasemusic.com. I've got these shows coming up. You can find everything on Spotify, iTunes. Check them out.
Yeah, check me out.
Yeah. Make sure to check it out. So, Ben, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up here?
No, just thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah.
I hope you have fun at CCMAs. The next 2 nights
Absolutely.
are going to be wild.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the gala tonight, and then
Yeah.
I've never been to any award show like this before. So
Well, we're
Excited
stoked to
to
be in
see it.
Edmonton. Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be awesome.
awesome. Well, best of luck in Nashville, Ben. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks, buddy.
Awesome.
And I don't wanna miss the boat. I gotta know if there's a chance for you and me. If you're gonna be somebody's last call, slow dance, wonder wall, tiki bar, somewhere on the beach. Girl, if you wanna crush like it's Cowboy, sky full of rhinestones. Hope you know I'm hoping that it's me. If you're gonna make somebody summer, somebody summer.
All right, we're back in Edmonton, Canadian Country Music Awards, Country Music Week here in town, and back at the Matrix. Turned out to have a pretty sweet setup here, Dustin.
You know what? I just realized my shirt matches the chair.
You're kind of like that guy.
I'm kind of like camouflaged in here.
You kind of look like that guy. There was a football thing this morning, and he's in a burgundy shirt with a burgundy background, and it looks like he's like 900 pounds because it's like this
All
the background that they shot the picture of is like up to his neck, and it's the same color as his shirt.
So do I look large because I'm in the same colored chair as my shirt?
What's the guy from is it Star Wars? That's the big or is it Spaceballs?
Oh no, I know, like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt. Just Jabba the Hutted into the chair.
Adds on upper weight class.
Do you need
there.
Do you want the sweater to kind of
Is it fitting?
differentiate?
Is it fitting? Okay, enough about me. Enough about the chair. Let's talk about our guest. Ted.
Okay, she's a three-time Country Music Alberta Award nominee. 2023, she was a finalist for the Boots and Hearts Emerging Artist Showcase. Back in 2017, though, she was the Nashville North Star winner at the Calgary Stampede. She's shared the stage with the likes of Gord Bamford, Paul Brandt, Tabe, Dan Davidson of CFCW now, and an array of other Canadian country music legends. Her new song, Somebody, came out on Friday the 13th of September.
Oh, download it.
TBD, hopefully that's good luck. Friday the 13th song release. But from right here in Edmonton, Alberta, please welcome Julia Vos.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this. Thanks
It's
for
gonna be
meeting
a lot
up
of
with
fun.
us this morning.
Oh, I'm stoked. I had to drag myself out of bed a little bit this morning for it, but
Yeah.
more than happy to. It's good because I have a show after this, so I was like,
Yeah.
it'd be the perfect warm up for my voice to just go yap with the boys.
Yeah, and
we'll
it's
try.
Country Music Week.
Yes.
And there's so much happening in the city. The city's bustling. And this is our first time being here. How many Country Music Weeks for the CCMAs have you been a part of?
Oh my goodness. You know what? A ton, but you kind of sometimes pick and choose the ones you go to as an artist. If it's far away, it can be expensive to do. Thank goodness it's in my hometown and I get to sleep in my own bed at night, which is a really nice feeling. But I've been to a lot and I've been singing since I was just a wee little lass, and I come from a big family. There's 6 kids in my family, and we started out in country, gospel, and bluegrass music. So even when I was doing my own thing back when I was a kid, my parents, I would drag them to the CCMAs whenever they were in town and go and just absorb all of it and see my heroes. So I've been to quite a few, and but performed at the last couple just at showcases and whatnot around town. So it's pretty fun.
And it's cool that Explore Edmonton and the city has brought this show back here.
Yes.
Obviously, Rogers is like a sweet venue in the convention center last night in Windspear. What's been a highlight so far this week in Edmonton? I mean, I know it's kind of home for you, but what has really stood out so far?
I mean, besides hanging out with you guys today, this is pretty exciting. It's a
I
highlight.
teed her up for that answer. Yeah.
That was not a paid ad.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I had a ton of fun at the gala last night, especially just seeing artists. Like, I've been doing this since I was younger, and so I know people like Brett Kissel and Aaron Goodvin. We actually used to sing together. I was like a kid watching them, and we used to sing at things when they were just starting out. So I got good chats and got to catch up with them last night, which was really neat.
Who's the songwriter guy that was sitting at your table that's wrote a couple big hits? He was at the round table earlier in the day.
At the round
Would it be
table?
David? Wow, geez, let me look at the picture. David Farrington? Is that what his name was? No, that doesn't sound right. He was sitting at your table though. He was
at my table?
Yeah, right across from you essentially.
Oh
but
my
he's
goodness.
he wrote some pretty major songs. He was singing them the other day. I was like, holy smoke! Like Tennessee Orange. He wrote Tennessee Orange for Megan Maroney.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so
I
bad
forget
with
what the
names.
hell his
but
name is right now.
Now I can't remember.
But he's sitting at your table. I was like, geez, this pretty
I know.
cool.
And
I think
that's
Ali
where
Walker was
starstruck,
just over.
Yeah, Ali Walker
close
was
by.
behind us. I was sat next to Madeline Merlot, so you're just kind of trying
Yeah.
to play it cool. And
Yeah. Was
Honestly,
she in
heavy
red beside
hitters.
you? Is that who? Was that Madeline Merlot?
yeah, in pink, the sparkly kind of pink
really?
dress. Yeah.
Jeez.
Pretty neat though.
Some heavy hitters.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then just good old Julia Vos.
That's wild.
But maybe when it's funny because you'll probably go from a point and you're probably right there where it's like, you're like, oh, I'm with the heavy hitters. But then you're like, but no, you're a heavy hitter too. You're part of the group. You're part of the fabric of country music.
Right?
You're all one.
On my way, anyways. Well, and like I said, especially being in Alberta and in Edmonton this year, there's so many artists who kind of got their start doing that, like Brett and Aaron too, and watching them do it. And then you just kind of remember, they're people too, and they're the humblest people ever, and they really watch out for other artists as well, and bringing them up and promoting them and kind of stuff. Like, I had a single that came out last year that Brett had shared to his socials, and I was like, that was just the coolest thing, that they're still helping out their buds, and they're all in their home right now, which is great.
David Fanning, by the way.
There we go.
I had to figure that out.
I'm horrible with names too. But last night for me, who I'm not, directly involved with the country music scene, but just walking through the crowds and looking at the tables, and you're like, oh, I know that face, or I know that's someone famous, and
Right.
And it was like super cool. And then when we were meeting with artists, for us, we have nothing to talk about relative to country music because that's not our world. But it was like, talking about where they're from and different rodeos they performed at, and we're trying to get Kissel and J.D. Eagleson to come ride a bull. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, so many
that's fun
people
stuff.
I've seen lately. I'm like, how do we get to do this? Because I remember being a kid at the CFR. I sang at the halftime show when I was 8 years old.
Oh, cool.
And I remember saying to my mom, I said, I think I want to be a bull rider when I grow up. And she said, absolutely not. But then I've seen more and more people riding bulls. So I was like, how does a girl get to do that? And my dad used to rodeo, not professionally or well, but he used to saddle bronc and tie down roping. And
Really?
he was like, you're never getting on a bull.
What's his name?
Dan Voss.
Ken, we got to talk about the Voss thing because my mom's maiden name is Voss. She actually kept her name, so she's been Pat Voss forever.
Oh, no
you
way.
guys
Yes.
related?
Yeah.
And we
Are
were
you guys
talking about
related?
this last night.
We
I
don't
mean,
think
in
so.
some way, and there's so many people, like, I went to U of A as well and was part of the egg club there.
Oh, and my cousins went to school there. Sydney went to the U of A. Sydney
Oh,
Voss.
okay.
She's my cousin from Fairview. She grew up in Fairview. Her dad's Henry.
We must, they're
There's-
like the
it's probably
Vosses
further back.
came and they settled and they all started dairy farms. And
Yeah,
they
they're
just
all.
started
But ours are
multiplying.
grain farmers
Oh,
up
okay.
in like Keg River. That's where they're from.
Ah.
So I had to throw that in there because there's
Today's
not many
episode presented
Vosses.
by Ancestry.com. where we go down
Ancestry.com.
we go down the rabbit hole of
Yeah.
the Voss family.
We don't even need to talk about music. We're just going to
Yeah.
talk about rodeo
It's
and dairy
family.
farming.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Anyways,
that's
sorry
funny.
about that. Had to throw that in there.
So you were talking about being at the CFR when you were younger.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Talk about
I guess
now.
the now and the rodeo connection, because this summer I seen you do the anthem at the Calgary Stampede.
Yes.
And you're coming back for the CFR anthem contest
Yes.
here soon. So let's talk about some of the events you've worked in rodeo and
Right.
why that holds a special place with your music career.
I mean, I've always loved it. And being a kid, like, we didn't exactly farm because there's 6 kids in my family. It was just too much. And so my parents got out of that. But my grandpa on my mom's side, he was a Charolais farmer. And then my dad used to rodeo and had horses when we were younger. So we've always been around it. And then country music goes hand in hand with those. So then you get to start going to those events, and we were always singing at family stages. And then that's even when I was a young kid, started singing the anthem for all the rodeos, and it would just be small town rodeos or hockey games and whatnot. And I mean, it's pretty easy to do because you learn the lyrics to "Oh Canada" when you're in elementary school, right? But no, it's pretty nice, and it's led me to some pretty amazing places like Calgary Stampede. I've sang the anthem there a bunch of times, and since I was a kid as well. And then when I was living in Toronto, I actually got to sing the anthem for the Blue Jays game, not rodeo related, but
It was Country Day,
That's
right?
cool.
yeah, that was their
That's
Country
cool.
Day a while ago.
How many people would have been at that one?
Oh, a couple thousand for sure.
I think a Blue Jay game average is like 40,000
That's pretty big.
fans. That's
Right?
a big stage to be in
Yeah,
front of.
it was pretty fun.
And then Ponoka this year, they asked you to sing the American anthem on
On
final
Canada Day.
on the final day, like the biggest crowd of the week.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool too, and getting to be there at Ponoka Stampede, because that's another one we used to go to as kids. So yeah, it's pretty fun getting to do. And then I'll be at Cook County Saloon, like you said, for their CFR anthem contest, which I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I am so excited that it's back in Edmonton this year.
It is exciting. It, for me, when I grew up coming to the CFR when I was a kid, like it was just part of the fabric was Edmonton. It was like you went to Edmonton, you went to Rexall.
Yeah.
You
Went to the
you
farm
went
fair.
You went over to
Farm fair,
farm
yeah.
fair. You went
Looked
across.
at the cows. Went
you
to
know,
the trade show.
Yeah, you can remember walking across. The building was the purple, blue, lit up.
You could
at
never
night.
wear nice boots because it was always snowy and the weather was
Yeah.
shitty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then going down to once I was of age, going down to the bar underneath, right by the Oilers
Knoxville?
dressing room.
Oh,
no, the bar underneath
down.
the seats.
Yeah, that's where I did most of my underage drinking. was
Yeah.
down there.
Most of my underage drinking.
Yeah. So for me, Edmonton and the CFR go hand in hand.
You just
They
put it in
do,
a pop,
right?
Yeah.
pop bottle, right? Like the fountain drink.
Yeah.
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 That's sneak it
course.
in. So for you,
But okay, this is the reason why I'm here right now is because of CFR in Edmonton. It was like 2001. I was in the stands with my mom and dad, or my dad and I, or like whatever. We went to the rodeo.
Yeah.
And there was boys steer riding there. Like that was one of the events. And I was 11 at the time. And I was like, holy shit, there's kids riding in front of all these people. I want to do this. So then the next year I went and started rodeo, started steer riding. And then a year later I qualified, but they had removed the steer riding.
was
from
that
the
was in
purse thing.
Strathmore, the finals?
Yeah, so I went to the CFR steer riding finals
Wow.
in Strathmore.
You got hosed.
I got really hosed. But this is the reason why I started with CFR in Edmonton. I came because I was from an hour and a half.
Oh my
from
gosh!
Drayton
Look
Valley,
at us!
so-
All of our humble
Yeah.
beginnings started with
CFR.
CFR Edmonton, and
Right.
now we're back.
So what would
We're
it mean to you to be in Rogers at the first ever CFR? That'd
man.
be pretty cool.
Right,
Singing the anthem.
so that's pretty cool too. Because when I sang at the halftime show when I was 8, that was when it was back at Rexall, and I was just, I think I didn't have a clue how large it was, and I just went out there with my boots and my hat and yodeled my little heart out. And so, at least I think singing the anthem is a little bit easier than that. But the weight of it. Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm like, at least I know the words to it, and it'll be good. And I've had some practice doing it at all the other rodeos, so I think that would be the highlight of my life, anyways, getting to do it here. And even for people like my grandparents who have passed on now, I know they would think that it is the be all end all because they went every year and we would go with them to the rodeo. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
That's pretty cool. I love when those kind of our worlds kind of connect, and that's where we have fun on the show is chatting with artists and how there's so many synergies with rodeo and the connection. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You actually earned the cowboy hat on your head.
Oh, thank you.
You've
real
lived
one.
it, and you've been it, and you've done it.
Right.
Even
Well,
the
I
palm
mean,
leaf, too.
the story behind this cowboy hat, too, because everyone always asks me where I got it from. And I do a thing on my TikTok called Reasons I Love Cowboys, because there are so many reasons.
Do you want to drop your handle on here quick?
Oh, yeah. If
First
you
of all.
go to Julia Vos Music, Vos spelled VOS,
1S.
1S. Not like the water. You'll find me there, and it's just Julia Vos Music. There's a couple of, I don't know about you guys, but if on TikTok, once you start getting over 10,000 followers, there's so many fake accounts. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
you'll know the real one. But if you go there, the Reasons I Love Cowboys, and I was talking about it during Stampede, spotting fake cowboys and real cowboys,
Ooh.
and we were talking about the cowboy hat rule, and I said, all right, you don't take a man's hat unless he puts it on you. This one's actually my husband's, and I stole it from
Oh.
him one day, and he never got
You
it back.
kept it.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of that, I think this is a topic we need to discuss quickly.
Oh,
We were at the bar last night, by Jus. We went there for a cocktail after.
Ooh,
It was
yeah.
a cool place. It was fun.
Very.
yeah.
But there was a group of people that were sitting across from us, and we had a couple different groups come up and talk to us. It was kind of
Yeah.
we obviously stood out because we
Yeah.
were all in suit jackets and cowboy
Right.
hats, right?
Boots, yeah.
So everybody's kind of giving us the looks and everything. But then there was one gentleman that came over and had a good visit with us, and then Dustin, you went to their table,
Yep.
had a visit, and then there was a girl, like kind of signaling me over with like about my hat and everything, and I was trying to like be like, no, like
No.
no, and I was like money, like it's expensive, right? Like I was trying
Right?
I was trying to respectfully be like, no, like I'm not just gonna give you my hat. Like this is it's probably would cost me $2,000 to replace this thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit expensive.
They don't get it.
And she's like, I want to wear your hat. I want to wear your hat. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. And I'm like, yeah. But like, how does a person respectfully say like, no, this is my hat. I'm not going to give you.
I think
You gotta teach
a
'em.
lot of girls don't realize how expensive they are. And even me, I was like, oh, here, this will be my hat. And then I've got like a nice felt one now as well, which I always am like.
So the white one.
Yeah. The one
Yeah.
I was wearing, I think last night, but then you got to be careful not to get it dirty. It's
Yeah,
hard
it's
when you
not-
wear a white one.
I'm still not old enough to wear a light colored hat.
Yeah, exactly. When
I'm
you're
gonna
a
get a little
girl,
more
though,
mature.
it's fashion, right? It's got to match with the outfit.
It's
so
true. That
whichever
was a
one
cool
goes.
dress last night with the kind of like, what was it on the top?
Oh, feathers. Yeah. You know
feathers,
what's
yeah, that
funny
was
about,
neat.
well, and
That
you know,
was at
you
the
guys
gala.
have it so easy because you wear your Wranglers and then if it's dress up, you wear a suit jacket and your
Yeah.
hat. Dress down, you wear a button up. But us girls, we got it a lot harder. And every
And
year
the-
we go like, oh, what am I going to wear? And you can't re-wear the same dress.
And the fashion is hard because there's a lot of junk out there.
There is.
Like I've been actually shopping for like ladies' clothes more than I realized lately. Like with ladies, like trying to find stuff. with them.
Okay, there we
Not
go.
like for
Glad
me.
you added that
No.
part in.
But
Yeah.
I'm going shopping with like with a partner at the time, and like it's hard. We were just trying to find her like a plain white shirt
Yep.
at one point, and it was like quite difficult to find just a plain,
I know,
classy
for
looking
exactly
white
what you want.
shirt.
And you have an idea of what you want too. And so sometimes it's nice. You get to know designers and then that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But the one I wore last night was
Smythe.
actually
Nice stuff.
my
Nice
mom's. She called me up and she said, hey, this is in my closet from the 2000s.
That white
She-
dress? With the
yeah,
feathers?
she wore it to
No
a New
way.
Year's party in the early 2000s. And she went,
That's fun.
why don't you try it on? It fit like a glove. So there we go.
No way.
We were upcycling. It's vintage. It was a Canadian designer as well. So I was happy to wear
Stuff was
that.
made
And-
better then too.
That's cool.
exactly.
Okay, what about the denim today too?
Yeah.
by the
Denim
way?
today. I mean, this is just winners, but we
Still,
love
solid
some
denim.
denim, right?
Yeah.
Denim, and then obviously my husband's hat, which I always sport, and then this one's actually my grandpa's bolo tie. So
Cool. It's
Yeah.
a good outfit.
Neat.
It's
Thank
perfect
you.
for the show today.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
Here we are wearing a polo and
Yeah. And I'm matching a chair with a random shirt. I want to talk about the gala last night. I know we mentioned it earlier. We were sitting at the table and we were talking about how like not being in country music, some of the awards we didn't understand if they're like really significant or
Yeah.
like, they're box checking. But for you in the industry last night, I mean, if it was sports or hockey, like we would get all the awards, we'd understand it.
Yeah.
Last night, I know there was a ton of awards given out. What were like the big awards that we wouldn't have really understood the significance of them?
I mean,
Not being in
I
the
think
industry.
last night at the gala, everyone watches the televised program, and that's where all the artists that you hear on the radio that you know and love, that's where they are.
Because there's really only like 15 on the main show they had. Like
Yeah.
it's not a lot, right?
So then the gala is kind of for all the people behind the scenes who make these artists what they are. It takes a team of people to do that because you have promoters, you have bookers, you have managers, and even the musicians. Actually, my producer who produced somebody, Maddie McKay, he won last night for Steel Player of the
Yeah.
Year. Because
Maddie and I grew up on the same road.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
With
And I'm
another
really
rodeo
good-
announcer.
And I'm really good friends with Maddie's cousin. We went to high school together, so last night we connected over that.
Oh, that's amazing. So you
Yeah.
guys already know him,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, we know Maddie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to give props to those people because I think, other people don't realize when they're watching the show of everyone who brings things to life. And especially Songwriter of the Year. That's always, for me personally, as a songwriter, that's one I always look to and to understand people's songwriting and who I would love to write with one day, dream writes or things like that. So you're watching that as well because there's, again, so much that goes on behind the songs and other writers beside just the artists. So it's all of the people who do all of the hard work to make the artists who they are. That's what last night was about.
So what would the biggest award have been last night? That was it the very last one, the industry person? Is that like the big one, or
I
what
mean,
is the
they
big
do
one?
have a face in it for sure. They save the best for last, obviously. Industry person is always a big one. Songwriter of the Year is always a huge one as well. I think those are probably like the top two. I mean, radio stations and country venues and festivals, especially festivals, because we're starting to see a change in radio, obviously with streaming platforms and artists play live a lot more, and I think people appreciate live music a whole lot more now, and the sheer amount of country festivals that exist, and so they make the community what they are. And so that's a really huge one as well, because they put money in our pockets. So
Yeah.
we appreciate them.
And there's a lot of great festivals, and I feel like every year there's more and more big festivals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
last night, I think Boots and Hearts won Festival
Yes,
of the Year.
they did.
And you performed there.
Yeah, I performed. I've actually performed there twice now, because I did back in 2018 for their Emerging Artist Showcase. And then again last year for their Emerging Artist Showcase as well. And Brooke is amazing. She's the one who runs that whole show, and they've won the last 2 years in a row. It is a phenomenal festival, and I've been to all of them, sometimes singing, sometimes going as a festival goer. And of course, we've got the big one here, BVJ, which I got to sing at this year as well in their songwriters tent. But Boots and Hearts is a whole other ball game. They've got their stuff together, that's for sure.
And they were the first country music festival to book Nickelback.
Yes.
Right,
which
that
is
was kind of their
incredible.
thing, right?
Yeah, and then it started the whole Nickelback train of,
Go to
they're
music
like their
festivals.
country, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of who's country now, what about the Post Malone country stuff?
Okay.
Why did it work for Post Malone and not Beyonce?
Ooh, very
what's the reasoning?
interesting. Very interesting. I mean, there's country music now, as you guys know, there's so many different subgenres of it. And I think, there was a lot of collaborations on Beyonce's as well, but then I think
But there weren't as many country music people, though,
not
right?
as many country collaborations.
Wasn't really. I feel like it wasn't as authentically done as Post Malone's was.
Very different pieces. When you look at country music and the history of it as well, this is me putting on my teacher hat, because I always make sure my kids are well educated about it. The roots of country music and where they came from, Beyonce, I think, did a really good of executing. And her album is one that I personally feel like, there's Texas Hold'em in there, but if you listen through it, beginning to end, it's kind of like a piece of art, and you have to know kind of the history and the weight that goes behind it, and then you're going to listen to it with different ears. Versus Post Malone's, you've got these big country, the biggest names in country music right now that are going to make that huge difference, especially, when you've got Dolly on there, but Dolly also did a feature on Beyonce's as well. But the ones that are really the heavy hitters in country music right now, I think that's what make the biggest difference for him. And from watching interviews that other people have done about Post Malone's album too, they said he just immersed himself into all of the country music and the history behind it and everything. Wow. I think another thing that pushed him over the edge is he didn't just release F1 Trillion, he did the extended version as well. So it was just like a gift to everyone, because now you're seeing albums that have 30 songs on them, right?
Which is wild. It's kind of like some of it's kind of going back to some of the more long form or
and lots
Side
of variety
one, side two.
I don't know if you guys
Really?
were expecting it, because I think a lot of people expected, we're going to hear that bro country, the pop country from Post Malone. But I was really happy to hear a lot of more traditional sounding country on it as well.
even I had some help like that. Like it sounds so good. Like it just fits with country music. It seems like.
Exactly. Do you have a favorite from that album?
Well, I like Pour Me a Drink too.
Pour Me a Drink
song.
is always a good
It's
one.
got a really cool sound with having Blake Shelton on it. Like I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
Wrong Ones is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It caught me the other day though. I got the explicit version by accident.
Oh.
And I think it said something about fuck you money. He's like, I got fuck you money.
Oh.
And I definitely played that in the pre-show at Armstrong the other night by accident.
Nice.
Usually I'm pretty good at lyrics and making sure I don't throw any F-bombs in there, but I definitely
did
drop
it,
one
yeah.
by accident.
People might expect it. You guys are cowboy shit, so
See?
you've got the rite of passage.
That's right.
Shit's okay now because
Yeah.
there is shit in I Had Some Help.
Oh,
So
okay.
We've made
I
it cool.
sprinkle some shit in there once in a while now.
We've made
It's
it
more
cool.
acceptable.
Perfect.
What about you? What
Yeah.
are your
Oh.
favorites though on there?
Oh,
Or
there's
Beyonce?
a lot.
Maybe it's one of hers.
There's a lot on Beyonce's. Texas Hold'em, I have just like a soft spot for it because it's such an earworm. So I really loved. On Post Malone's though,
Is Lowell, like the girl that co-wrote it with her, is she from here too, or is she from the U.S.? I want to say that at that songwriters thing yesterday, the girl named Lowell, like I think she's Canadian, and she co-wrote that song.
no way.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
All the little writers
Cool
that you just
facts.
never
Pretty
know where they go
wild.
from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Anyway,
ask you
sorry,
about your
you talk
social
about-
media.
Social media.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're big on the TikTok.
Yes.
And how
Oh my
important
God.
is that for artists nowadays to embrace? And you talked about not wanting to embrace
Yeah,
it for
I fought it
time.
for a long
Yeah.
time.
Talk us through that journey, because I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for me, I think things really changed during the pandemic because obviously artists can play live shows. And obviously when you're an independent artist, it's not like we can just pump out music all the time because it costs money to do that. So I fought it for a long time. Also because the authenticity of it, I think back then they were doing lots of like, oh, come to my Instagram live and I'm going to sing to you, but the quality is crap and it's not going to be very good. So those are a little bit different. And then everyone was just kind of starting to understand TikTok, and I fought it for a long time, not wanting to post. And then you have like the odd thing that blows up. I hustle pretty hard because it costs money to make music, and I'm an independent artist. So on top of doing this, I'm also a teacher, and I'm also a bartender, and I work at a golf course. And so I was doing one at a golf course of just like, me dancing at by my bev cart, and it like blew up with like 600,000 views. So then I was like, oh, so this is the thing. And then it started turning into, anytime I'd roll up to some golfers and they were listening to country music, I would go, oh, you guys like country music? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, I'm actually a country singer. And then I would make them download my music. And I always have a QR code on my phone just in case anyone goes like, oh, what's that? And I would go, you can find me. It's my song's actually called You Can Find Me. And then this is where you can find me. So that started to blow up. But then it did start to feel a little bit like a chore of like, what are you going to do next? And TikTok is kind of like throwing spaghetti at a wall. There's no rhyme or reason as to what works to it. But then it became less of a chore when I just started filming my life. And the next thing that blew up was my life as a teacher / musician, and kind of doing the best of both worlds, my Hannah Montana life, because it's a bit of a secret double life. And so I would talk about my students and things I was teaching them, or I would film things of this is me at my day job, and then this is me on the weekend. It'd be me singing to my kindergartners, and then on the stage having beers with the band the next day. But then one of my students was actually at the Calgary Stampede last year, and I heard Ms. Vos, and I just went, oh my gosh, where's that come from? And I was like, thank God this is a all ages show that he was at. And I talked to his parents after, and they said, can we buy you a drink? And I went, well, I don't know if you should do that. But I told the kid after, I said, oh, this is our secret. Like, you can't tell anyone. This is Miss Vos. This is my secret life. This is what I do. And then, of course, his teacher comes to me on the first day of school in September and says, so the kids were writing in their journals, and so-and-so wrote a fun page I have to show you. So there's this nice little drawing from this grade 1 kid with me, my cowboy hat, my bell bottoms, and my guitar. And it says, I saw Miss Vos at the Calgary Stampede singing country music, spelled Cuntry. They're just learning to spell. He sounded it out well. And
he was only grade 1.
Exactly. But that one, so when I talked about that story on my TikTok, it blew up. And I think a lot of people resonate with the hustle of, like, sometimes we got to work on 9 to 5s as well, and making it real. And so when I started doing that and including my students, not their faces, obviously, because I always keep that private, but just the realness of it, and that you can do both, and it's always a hustle. And then it's just, always the next new thing. And it's hard too when artists are trying to promote their music and it's in their car and they're lip syncing to it. And I'm like, I don't know. It used to hit, but it just doesn't work anymore. So you've got to have a bit of a story behind it. So then we're prepping for some songs and maybe an EP that'll come out in a year, but some singles that'll come out next year as well. So I like to prime my audience with little things that I do. So my current one is Reasons I Love Cowboys, and that has seemed to blow up as well. And all the rhymes and reasons and rules that go with loving cowboys, and then people love to argue about it on TikTok as well.
So what's can you give us like your top 3 rules? Because I feel like this is a good platform to
the first one, and it's an accolade to my husband and my dad and my grandpa, is that they always say, yes, ma'am. And the way that they say it, it's that Southern charm that they were grown up. And, maybe it's just from being from Alberta, but I melt anytime I hear a man say yes, ma'am to me. And they always have different ways for it too. I could be so pissed off at them, or I could say, oh, can you get me this, honey? I'll go, yes, ma'am. So that, and oh gosh, I love a man who takes his hat off when he greets you. Always nice. And then actually I made that reason. And then I was at Calgary Stampede, got off the stage after singing the anthem, and was walking around because we stuck around for the rodeo to watch it that day. And someone walked up to me, a nice cowboy, and said, ma'am, you did a beautiful job today. And I went, I like you.
That was like two in one. He took
exactly.
And he said ma'am.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So, and we love feisty guys as well, those cowboys. I'm pretty feisty myself, so I've got to be able to go head to head with them, and that's why I love them as well. And there's a whole lot of other reasons in there. So
we can find it all on your TikTok.
Yes, you can find it on my TikTok.
On the TikTok. That's cool.
I feel like I missed taking my hat off like maybe twice last night to shake ladies' hands. I was like,
now you know.
I had one in I had like a drink in my left hand, and then I had to gotta put the hat down.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
It gets a little bit.
I was doing it when I didn't have a drink in my hand. Yeah.
Right.
Logistically, right?
Yes,
To, like,
but
set
you
the
know
drink
what?
down, like,
We appreciate it, and we understand when you can't. And it's funny too how gentlemen have to take their hats off, but do not ever ask a lady to take their cowgirl hat off.
No.
no.
I always say to my husband, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you probably get hit on all the time when you're gone playing these shows." And I say to him, "All I have to do is take my hat off, and they're gonna go, oh, you don't want to see the hair under there."
Is that like the what's the thing with like the glasses or like there could be a funny TikTok about he's a 10
Oh.
he's a 10 until he takes his hat off.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That'll be the next reason.
Someone said that to me last night.
Oh, was it about me?
No, no, it was at our table. It was at our table, and it was like, take your hat off, and you're different, and you look different, right? So I took my hat off, and I'm like, I got really short hair, and yeah, I do look different today.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
true. And there's certain occasions, and out of respect too, that you have to take your hat off. And I was going to ask your guys' opinion on this, because when you are singing the anthem,
Not as a lady.
you remove your
Cowgirls keep
hats.
it on.
Yeah. However, I always do remove my hat for the
I
anthem.
actually noticed that. I don't think you need to though.
I don't need to. Well, I thought you had to, so I've
Not
been
as a
doing
lady.
it since I was a kid. And then someone just told me this year that I don't have to. But I
Yeah.
don't know. For me, it's like a memory thing. I like to hold it over my heart.
Yeah, and that's fair. And
Special.
when I introduce anthems at rodeos, I always say, please rise if you're able, and gentlemen, remove cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because ladies, I was raised that ladies can leave their hat on for the anthem.
Because I would say like I don't know for sure, but I think it's like number one probably a hair thing. Like
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of girls will like kind of build their like I don't know, the rodeo queen ladies might build their hair around a hat, like it would probably mess stuff up. to take the hat
Exactly.
off.
Well, and so
They got
that's
stuff-
the
they
thing
got their
I've been
pins and
struggling
everything.
with. Like I'll do my hair in the morning
Yeah.
and then I carry my hat to the rodeo and I wait till the last possible second to put it on, walk out into the field, and then take it off, and then it goes right back on and stays in my head for the rest of the day.
But like some of the rodeo queen girls like put their hairpins up into the hat band and whatnot, so to like
Right?
kind of muck stuff up a little bit.
Exactly.
So yeah, you definitely don't have to.
All right.
Like even like
If I get the chance to sing at the TFR, maybe I will wear my hat on my head that day.
Yeah, we'll be watching
and
for
it's-
it.
There you go.
and also okay, some hat stuff like I don't really wear a straw hat after Labor Day. It's
Ah,
kind of like the white. You
So
can't
I'm
wear
already
after
doing
Labor
it
Day.
wrong.
I don't know. I'm just like we could have this
It's
discussion
subjective.
too.
It's
It is, but like
subjective.
I wore a straw hat to the NFR one time and did like the first day of the finals, did a couple interviews with the straw hat.
Yep.
I got totally roasted online. It was kind of hilarious, but also
Right.
a good lesson to always have a felt hat.
Well, and I always wore
In the
my
winter.
straw one because I stole it from a fella. And but then my dad gave me heck about it. He went, "So you know it's felt hat season now?" And I went, "Yeah." Well, I was like, "Are you gonna buy me a felt hat?"
Come on, Dad.
I just busted mine out this week. Now it's in
There you
rotation.
go.
Now it's
Exactly.
all
Well,
spring.
Yeah, it's got to go with the outfit too.
Although I wore my straw to Kindersley a couple days after.
Oh,
but
Ted,
like,
you broke the rule.
I broke the rule, but like
Broke
now
the
we're
rule.
felt hat season for the rest of the year.
I've
'Kay.
already broken it.
We're here for country music. Songwriting is a big thing for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We were talking about your Alberta Country Music Award nods,
Yeah.
and you're nominated for songwriter.
Yes, for Female Artist of the Year, I was nominated for, and a humanitarian act as well, because we did a campaign that for the song that I wrote actually, and for Songwriter of the Year for my song Jude that came out last October. So
Okay.
that was pretty neat for me because again, like I said, my favorite category is always Songwriter of the Year. So it felt pretty special, and for the song that it was, my whole family got to come to it because it was in Edmonton last year, and that song in particular is really special to us. My brother and his wife, they lost their son Jude just about 2 years ago now, and we're a big music family, and we said for Christmas that year we were going to write letters to them because it's hard, because after that I think people don't realize losing children or stillborns or anything like that. I think people don't acknowledge it and they don't talk about it. And so just having those conversations with my brother and his wife, a lot of it was, we just want you to say his name, and those little glimmers of hope for us that remind us of him, and please talk about him, and all the things that we were going to share. And they were just so heartbroken, but the circle of people that you surround yourself with when you're going through those times. So we were all going to write letters to Jude for Christmas, and I was reading, my brother did a blog post for a group called Sad Dads Club, because also the dads, I think a lot of people forget about in those times. And I got home late from bartending one night and was reading his blog post, and I think it was like 2 a.m. and reading something about how it's hard for him to look at his hands because he thought, like, when Jude was born, that same hands, they look so similar, and just of all those things. And how he is actually a bass player as well, and he's not playing as much music after because it's just these are the things he wanted to share with his son. So then I got up pulled out my guitar and wrote that one in under 20 minutes. And it was just a voice memo that lived on my phone. And I sent it to Kevin and Dana saying, this is just for you. It doesn't have to see the light of day. And then I was playing a writer's round 3 days after that. And so I texted them saying, hey, this is just for you. It's totally up to you guys. Do you mind if I play this song? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And then from there, just I think so many people connected to that and the experience of having people there and saying his name and everything. So I always tell them the story because they like to hear, other people and their stories as well. And then I've had a lot of people saying, like, are you going to record that? And I said, I don't know. Like, it's not my place. It's their song. It's for them. And then we had a couple conversations about it. And it ended up being a really big thing for parents of loss. And so they said, you know what, if this is going to reach out to them, then we'd love to do that. And so we did a whole campaign for pills, pregnant and infancy loss. And so all of the funds from that and went to that foundation and a couple other foundations that do really amazing things for parents of loss as well. So it holds a very special place in my heart, and I was just happy to get to sing it at the awards show and be nominated and have them in the audience for it.
Oh, that's a great story. Is that what you were nominated for the humanitarian portion as well? So,
for our
very
campaign
cool.
for that. So it was pretty neat.
That's a great story.
Yeah, thanks.
And one of your biggest commercial successes so far on the music side of things,
Yeah.
right?
Like on Spotify, it's got over 40,000 streams now. Which is, again, like pretty crazy. And it was the last single I put out because we put out 2 last year. We did You Can Find Me and Jude, and then hadn't had anything until just this last Friday when we put out Somebody. And we've got
let's talk about Somebody. What can we expect when we hear Somebody now that it's out on the
I kind of have 2 vibes. It's either honky tonking or heartbreak. That's all I write about. And so it was kind of like a change from that. And we did, Jude before, which was a ballad. So I went, is it going to be another one? And it's so funny because with all my team and everyone, it would always be like, we're going to do Somebody. And then there would always be another song that would bump it out. And they'd go, this one is better. However, I wrote that song probably about 8 years ago. And I've been playing it live for so long, and it's always been a fan favorite. Like all my family and friends and fans have gone, when is this one going to come out? So I put my foot down and I said, no, this is the one that we're doing next because it holds a special place in my heart. It was for one of the big loves in my life that didn't work out at the time.
I was always, wonder what the story was.
Right? I was pretty sad as I am, but I think just my friends and family were getting a little sick of me being sad about it, saying no one's ever going to love me again. I'm never going to find the one. And actually, one of my friends sat me down one day and said, Julia, you got to get off your ass. I'm tired of hearing you cry about this and saying no one loves you. What are we, chopped liver? Like, you've got these amazing friends and family in your life, and we love you, and that's all that should matter. So that was kind of the advice that I needed to hear at the time. And now I say to my sisters and to everyone else, there's going to be somebody who hurts you. There's going to be somebody who makes you move on. There's going to be somebody who loves you again. And so that's kind of what that song is about, is that there's always going to be somebody.
So
there it is.
So yesterday at that songwriters thing, there was it was Dasha and then David, who's at your table.
Yes.
And I think they were joking about something, but she made a comment because Austin was written about like a breakup, and then she had another one that was kind of a continuation on from that.
Yeah, they're all about the same guy, I think. I watched an interview, and she said,
yeah,
don't care about him anymore.
And they just broke up like a month ago. She said it's pretty fresh, but she's like, yeah, but it's just a heartbreak for me. Is just it's a business expense now. It's a write off. Like,
yeah, exactly. Honestly, I love it. I still write about old heartbreaks. My husband's like, oh, do I need to beat someone up? I'm like, nah, it's fine. It makes for a good story.
What's been happening out there? Yeah.
So do you gotta be like sad to write a sad song, or happy to write a happy song, or can you still story tell without that experience, or do you like to just write about your own experiences?
I mean, I love to. There's nothing more special. Like a song with Jude wrote itself in 20 minutes, and same with Somebody. Like it was a pretty fast one. I think it's easier to write sad songs because we all like to just sit in those emotions and wallow in it. I find it harder to write like fun songs actually. However, when I was in Nashville in the spring, writing for my next projects that'll be coming out in the spring, it was so fun to talk about like the rodeo life and explain it to. I was writing with an Australian, and they're like, "Tell me more about these cowboys," and I was like, "Oh!" So we wrote a song about it. So that was fun, and then I realized, oh, this is actually like pretty quick to do. However, I do get heck from my husband about it, and he's like, so are you going to write a love song about me one day eventually? I did write him one for our wedding when we did our vows. He was like, oh, I'm writing this. And I went, okay, you have to go first because I wrote you a song.
Did you
He's
sing
like,
it to him?
I
with the
did at the
guitar?
wedding, yeah.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so it hasn't seen the light of day. It might only live in our wedding video somewhere, but maybe one day. But it's okay. He likes being behind the scenes and carrying my guitar.
So are you ever around a group of people and you hear like a line or like us saying, don't touch that cowboy's hat? Like,
Yeah.
could that line become
There
a
you go.
song?
Yeah, exactly. From this interview alone, I'm going to go in my notes app and write down half these things. And sometimes it is just that, like, people say, like, do you write lyrics first or do you write the melody first? I usually go like hand in hand with both. Like, it'll come to me some sort of idea and then pull out the guitar and start fooling around with it. And a lot of it is just mumblings at first. That's kind of how I write, of like, what's the vibe? Sometimes it's voice memos that exist on my phone, and then you'll listen to it the next day and go, well, that's a stupid idea. Or just one-liners. Like when I was in Nashville, the rule was someone said they saw a sign when they went into a shop and it said, I only kiss cowboys. And I went, that's the song. And so we wrote that one. That'll come out next year, so stay tuned for that.
Right on.
But
We hope that one's about your husband.
for sure.
He said he wanted a song.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
It's actually this
Yes.
one.
Yeah, it's about how to spot the cowboys, the real cowboys. It's all the rules that go with that.
Oh, really?
Right? But yeah,
Is
it's
there
lots
anything
of
about starched
one-liners.
jeans?
Starched jeans. Well,
part of it?
couple things. I think we talk about, if you can't rope a ride, be on your way, and lots of little like hints to cowboy songs in there. There's like a reference to Cowboy Take Me Away. There's a reference to Waylon and Willie in there, and
Perfect.
other ones. So yeah, you'll have to stay tuned for that one. But and
Looking
then we
forward
also
to it.
talk about. I was explaining specifically Alberta cowboys to this Australian, and we put the line "Smith built men" in there, and he's like,
Oh.
"What does Smith built mean?" And so this is where I'm like, "Hey, when the song comes out, I'm like, hey,
used
so
to- I
can
used to-
Smith built? Can you give me a hat?"
I'm
Oh,
wearing
yeah.
one right now.
There you go. I
Smith
love the
belt.
Smith built men.
I'll talk to Holly and Cam and Wendy and see what we can
Hey.
do.
We need to get you a
I used
Smith
to
belt.
I used to build hats there for like 4 years. That was
No
one of my first jobs when I
way.
moved to Calgary.
I was in there yesterday.
You were there yesterday?
I was there
Maybe
yesterday,
we'll talk to
yeah.
Cody and
Yeah,
Cody in the
well,
game.
There we go.
They got a new location. It's beautiful.
It's
by the way, yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh, I've
it's
seen
the old
it. Yeah, it's
Kane's
so
Harley Davidson
stunning. Yeah.
location.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They moved up the motorcycle, put a big hat up, and there you go.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Cool.
What else do we got here?
I mean, I think we talked about a lot. We got a song
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Talked about the anthem. Fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, we'd love to see at CFR. We're
So we'll be at Cook County if you're around on Saturday the 21st. The top 5 finalists will be there. So I love anytime I can go to Cook County, honestly. So it's fun. That was my underage drinking spot.
I was gonna say that
Yeah.
if there's one thing that like resonates with cowboys and the rodeo and Edmonton,
Ranchmans.
it's Cook County
Used
and
to be Billy
Edmonton.
Bob's.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
it's
Cook
in Red
County has
Deer.
always been Cook County, and that place will just never die. That's
Hopefully
actually
not.
where my parents met.
really
Oh, really?
And so I said, well, we've been talking to Spanky, the manager there, and saying, like, can we get a plaque on this one thing? Because the story they tell, my parents were like kind of seeing other people, but like not really. And so
Sounds
they
like
were
a
being
country
set
song.
up on a blind date. And neither of them wanted to go on this blind date, but they were only going to get their families to shut up about it. And my dad was a frequent Cook Countier. Like, he would get back from working up north and go straight to Cook County instead of even going home. So he's a regular there back then. And so he said to his buddies, I have to go on this blind date. I'm going to go for dinner, and then I'll meet you at Cook County after. But then he went on the date with my mom and just was absolutely smitten. So he like leaned over the table to her and said, do you want to go to Cook County with me? So he brought her there, and then they danced cheek to cheek and two-step. That's another
sounds like
non-negotiable
I was
for me
gonna
as a
say.
man who knows how to proper two-step. And they still point out the table that they sat at and talked all night and
Really?
danced at. And so, yeah, we like to go back there. And I said, we got to just get like a plaque sticker and stick it on, and maybe they won't notice.
That's
of Dan
cool.
and Tamara, first date. So it's my favorite spot. I'm happy to be back there singing on Saturday.
awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
So everybody's got to go download somebody.
Download somebody.
Yep.
Follow me on TikTok.
Listen to Jude.
Listen to Jude.
Yeah, some great stuff
Yeah.
here. Well, it was great for me. It was great meeting you last night at the gala and having you come
Likewise.
hang with us today and talk about the industry and your career. And
Yeah.
I mean, from the Blue Jays games to the Calgary Stampede to CCMAs and CFRs, you're just all over and you're really doing it. And
Thanks.
much respect because you're teaching as well. Like, You got to hustle, don't you?
Yeah. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
But I think it's
We get
cool.
Oh, the definition too, Dust.
Oh yeah, we got to do that still.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool when you're talking about like showing people that side of it.
Yeah.
Like I think people connect more with artists when you get a look behind the curtains, almost, right? Is
And
that
then
fair?
it doesn't feel like a job anymore. Like my dad always said to me, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And once I just started embracing that, you know, you film everything and you just, that's my life. It is what it is. It's not going to be put on. I don't have to think about TikTok ideas anymore because here you're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
So come and join. And yeah, it's pretty fun to get to show people that side as well.
Cool. Well, it's our final question. So we ask all of our guests,
Ooh.
what is your definition of cowboy shit?
Ooh, my definition of cowboy shit. I feel like it's just like your definition would be like, that is the coolest thing that you can see. I'd be like, that's cowboy shit there. Don't mess with that.
Just cool. The
yeah.
cool factor.
Yeah. I gotta think on that one a little more to be more
We
articulate
always
about
hit
it.
everybody with it at the end. They're just like, oh, I got to think about this.
Yeah.
And no, there's never been two answers the same. It can be
Never,
any,
ever.
No.
It can be anything.
Yeah, I think
Never,
that's going to
ever.
be like the new way to coin like something that is just top notch of or some person and go, that's cowboy shit right there. Maybe tough, I would say.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
cowboy shit.
Yeah. I
Well,
like it.
check her out, juliavosmusic.com. Got you can see her music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, YouTube. Check her out on the TikTok,
You can find me.
Instagrams, everywhere.
Everywhere where
juliavosmusic.com.
social media is,
Yeah.
she's there.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
for
for
doing
coming
this.
this morning. It was awesome.
Fireworks shone across the room when he grabbed my waist under a neon moon. Saying, where can a guy like me find a girl like you? You can find me out there in room singing Dolly Parton tunes. You can find me hanging with a band, straight whiskey in my hand. You can find me making all